I started a business when I was 25, and I'd say it's been a dumpster fire on and off since then, until only the past couple of years has it become what I've dreamed of. And I am now 35. So hopefully by sharing the embarrassments, the failures, the ugly side, it'll help you get to your dream business in a fraction of the time. I'm Carolyn, and I'm a six-figure laid-back entrepreneur, and here we talk all things personal finance and business ownership. First, let's start off with what you can learn to avoid. My mistakes. So I failed many times trying to create my own business. First was an Etsy store. I just didn't know what I was doing, did my best guess, which was no market research. Looking back now, I'm like, well, of course you didn't succeed there. You didn't do any research on what was performing. You picked like the lowest dollar item possible and you were surprised. So next was freelance. I thought maybe I could just be a freelance graphic designer. Again, kind of the same reasons for failing. I just didn't do research. About how to do that successfully. I had quit my office job that was employing freelancers at the time, and I really just got lucky. When I quit, they asked me if I would be willing to freelance for them, and I said yes. And then I ended up being my only and my main client. But it definitely made the work-life balance there more manageable. Previously, it was 10, 12-hour work days, designing holiday stationery and like gift wrapping items. It was a super fast-paced environment, and I was an illustration major, so I was drawing and doing creative stuff. It just didn't feel like creative. It was just a place where like artist souls go to die. So as a freelancer though, I kind of had a say in that. I didn't have to do 12-hour work days there if I didn't want to. And if I wanted to work from home, I could. And if I didn't want to work 5 days that week, or some days, even Saturdays, we would come in actually, come to think of it, by request, but yeah, then I didn't have to. But eventually I just noticed I wasn't making enough money, and it was very chill as a freelancer, almost too chill for my taste. I still wanted some more stimulation, kind of an in-between. So I went back to an office job, designing at a different company. And that one I really enjoyed, but I realized it was still an office job. So eventually I was still working on trying to build a business on the side as well. And now let me backtrack a bit on the freelancing side of things. So I had majored in illustration because all my life I wanted to be a children's book illustrator. And I got my first gig illustrating a children's book. And I realized that I did not enjoy the process at all. Drawing the same thing over and over and over again and spending so much time on one page, I realized I just didn't enjoy that. Many times I may have had a dream idea or a dream job, and when I hit it, I realized, let me try something else actually. It's not what I thought it was. So when I was at my office job, at first I really enjoyed it. It was what I was looking for at the time. But eventually, it did start catching up to me that I was at an office job. I did have a capped salary. I could work as hard as possible all year and maybe get a 3% raise. My work hours and time were very structured. Work from home was not allowed at this office. I don't know if it still is. It's a family-run business. They're pretty old school. So there was just a lot about it that I just didn't like. But I saw that as far as office job and design jobs goes, this one is really good from what I've seen. That made me realize that it's not them, it's me. And I thought, if I can't be happy at this office job, I don't think there's another office job drawing that I can be happy at. So when I was working this office job, this is when I started to develop maintenance insomnia. I specify maintenance because onset insomnia is when you can't fall asleep at all. And I had maintenance insomnia, so I could fall asleep, but I couldn't stay asleep. So I'd wake up every day around 2 to 4 in the morning and could not fall back asleep. I would yo-yo through a lot of different ways to try to fix this. Long story short, I no longer have insomnia. Shout out Sleep Science Academy. No pills, no drugs, nothing, just psychological. So back to the insomnia. I took advantage of this extra time. With this extra time that I had by not sleeping, this is when I started doing a lot of research into money, building investments, passive income. It's all because I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it completely changed my mentality. Before it was always, how can I get more money at this job? Just keep working harder, stay later, freelance more. And then it shifted into, how can I build a passive income? How can I build something my salary is not capped? And it's not relying on me maybe getting a 3% raise. It's just relied on me and my resourcefulness. So at first I got obsessed with the concept of short-term rentals. Airbnb specifically was what I was looking at videos at the time. And this is where some more mistakes happened, but I did learn from that, so I can share that with you as well, so you don't have to make the same ugly mistakes that I did. So after about 1 year of just binging online content about short-term rentals, I finally got my own condo. With my thinking was, I'll start out with renting out the second room on short-term rental, cover my mortgage and then some, save some money, and then I'll buy my own condo that I could put in a more popular location and put that on short-term rental. That was my thinking. Turned out my HOA did not allow that. So I thought, okay, maybe I can get a roommate. My boyfriend, now husband at the time, moved in and he started paying me rent. About a year later, he bought a place, and instead of us going in together and buying a bigger, nicer place, he bought it on his own, and then I started paying him rent. So we kept my condo, put a long-term tenant in it. Would have done short-term, but because of the HOA rules, put a long-term tenant in it, continued building equity in there. And then maybe another year later, we sold that, actually to the tenant's parents, and then used that equity from that condo sale to buy our first, and then later 2 and then 3 condos in a more popular location and put that on short-term rental. So when that started, I just put it on Airbnb and they were crushing. They just immediately were fully booked. And then by the time I had the second and the third one, there were just more problems we're having. It's really old condos. Guests were just having these issues. There were a lot of complaints I just could not deal with enough, could not fix in time. Started getting more unsatisfied guests. Bookings were no longer full. Eventually I thought maybe I can add it on VRBO and then I can have another platform coming in, but it just slowly dwindled and eventually came to a point where it was like barely breaking even. If I remember correctly, in 1 year, those 3 condos, once they started going down and not being profitable, made $3,000. So not exactly another income stream that could count as like a salary, which was what I was thinking. So eventually, more just because of burnout more than anything, I let a property manager take that over, and they actually ended up making more money than I did with it, even after their cut. So should have done that sooner. So this next kind of ugly side was a wake-up call. Eventually I ended up quitting my office job and doing YouTube full-time. And that was difficult and tight at first, especially in that first year. But with all this, I was kind of just forgetting about my friends. Insomnia was bad, wasn't seeing friends, wasn't working out. And the wake-up call was when one of my closest friends in town, I realized through social media that she had gotten a divorce. And I didn't even know. So that was one of the things that made me realize it's important to still have life in the work-life balance. Eventually, was able to overcome the insomnia. Shout out Sleep Science Academy. It was really important for me to not have to like go on sleeping pills or a routine or anything. And it was all mental is what they taught. Make an effort to see friends, make an effort to work out. So sure, I hear that so much about burnout and take care of yourself and don't just put work first, but it's like I had to make that mistake to realize for myself that I was doing it. And for YouTube, I think people see where it is now and don't realize where it was or what it took to get there. And I try to say that to any new YouTuber I see, like whenever I see them doing really well and they only have like 10 videos already, and I'm like, do you realize that in those like 10, 20 videos that you're already out the gate making great videos, you just got like 10, 20,000 subscribers in 6 months, where it took me 2 years to get to 1,000 subscribers. I'm like, you're already way ahead of the game. Like, you're doing great. So I try to make it a point to tell new YouTubers that who are like, oh, I feel so far away from 100,000. I'm like, you're doing great. Just stay there, stay on the course, keep going. And then for me, when I quit my office job after being on YouTube for 5 years to go full-time with it, I didn't quit because I was rolling in it and because it was so successful and great. I quit because I was exhausted. doing both. And I really believed if I could just dedicate a little bit more time to my channel, that I could make it work full-time. So that first year, full-time on YouTube was rough. Things were tight. I had to work a lot more in order to make the same amount that I did at my office job. And I still didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I didn't see how I could improve it. Like, I knew that there were many people who were successful on YouTube and were having sustainable businesses, but I didn't know how I was going to get there. So finally, at the end of 2021, like 6 months after quitting my office job, that's when I was like, okay, I did not quit my office job so that I could be making the same or less money and doing more work. If this is the case, then I'll just go back to work. So I had a last-ditch effort, and that was, I had been eyeing specifically the Mr. Miyagi of YouTube, Daryl Eves, and his course. I had been eyeing that for a couple of years, noticing that in interviews with larger YouTubers, a lot of them would mention him working behind the scenes. And he didn't have a lot of free content on his channel. Some, like YouTube gurus, do, but I noticed that he did not. But he was the one that was being mentioned a lot by these larger YouTubers. And it turned out that he's the only YouTube strategist I knew of at the time that YouTube themselves actually hires to help work on their algorithm. So I was like, okay, I think this guy, the reason he's so much more expensive and not that available online with the free stuff is because he's the best. So finally I was like, all right, just last ditch effort, here's my money. And I wish I had done that like 6 years earlier. From what I learned in those 2 months at the end of 21, still to this day, I am still improving on and working on and adding from, and every time I do, my channel and business just keeps growing. Like, the very first sign that I saw how amazing it was, the strategies that you learn in there of how to find what's performing in your niche, in your platform. Just right out the gate, my videos made like 4 times the views than they were making before. And that's just the videos. That's just one element of a whole business off of YouTube. So my channel and its business had basically been plateaued for a few years. But ever since learning from Daryl about how to do YouTube sustainably, it's been increasing in views and revenue about 30% each year since then. So that was probably my biggest regret, is not having done that sooner and just being cheap. So with all this ugly mess and mistakes, what could you do differently so that financial independence doesn't take you as long as it took me? I would have made work-life balance more of a priority from the beginning. So that's getting my sleep well, keeping in contact with good friends, family. I just noticed that I'm just come to the camera. I have better ideas. I'm more creative. I'm just better at my job when those things are taken care of and when those things are in a better place too. It's hard to be creative and productive and your best when you're exhausted or depressed or lonely outside of work. And for the short-term rentals, that one, sure, maybe it was a good lesson of the way I did it, just managing on my own, realizing how poorly I did comparatively, and just going with a property management company. Seems like I feel like I gotta learn that lesson like repeatedly. Like, same thing with brand agents. Like, I tried doing my brand sponsorships myself first, and then when brand agents took it over, they did a better job at it than I did. But sometimes all you have is yourself, and it's better than nothing. But if you can hire someone that has the experience and track record and you got some trust in them, then go for it. Probably the biggest regret with YouTube, although I think it worked out because looking back now, not totally sure how I could have done this differently. I do have one idea I'll share with you. But I've noticed that people who don't rely on YouTube AdSense and sponsorships as the bulk of their income, especially to start out, those who have an existing business and YouTube just directs traffic to it, those people crush it. Those people do the best. I know of one channel that they don't get a ton of views. They get maybe like tens of thousands of views, if that. Their business is making 7 figures, not 7, like in the millions. And all they sell is used office chairs. That's it. And their channel about productivity or office decor, just kind of things around office chairs, just directs to that, and they do great. And another thing I would have done differently though is taking Daryl's course immediately, like as soon as possible. It was $5,000 when I took it in 2021. I think now it's $6,000, and who knows, it could keep going up. And yeah, that's expensive, but so is college. And my college education cost about $250,000. And when out of the gate, I was making $35,000, and then 8 years later, $55,000. Daryl's course cost me $5,000, and it took my channel from $55,000 to $150,000 in 3 years. So I mean, that sounds like a pretty better ROI in my opinion. I think that now that you've watched this video, you have a pretty good idea of some mistakes you can avoid. So if you want to know how I created a 6-figure business, you can watch this video next.